Hello, everyone. I've been going through a really big healing process, ascension process that's crazy. And I just kind of wanted to start off by telling you guys some of my story. Maybe I've told it to you before. It's been 5 years, but I kind of want to go over it again and make it a little series. Okay? So, my whole life I had these gifts telepathy, premonition, vision, being able to see in the past, being able to see in the future, all these things. And I could never allow myself to identify with it in the sense of here. Like, I didn't think I got any of my gifts from the God that people were talking about. I refused. I refused to believe that my gifts came from the God that was here. So I just lived my life. Things would happen. Very strange things were always happening. Too many stories to tell. Too many odd things, but they happen nonetheless. I will be telling you some of them, and if I sound a little out of breath, it's because I'm doing this thing to remove all the biofilms from my system, and it's working. It's working. So my nose is a little stuffy today, but it was put on my heart to start this series, so I am. And I hope you guys stay with me through the whole thing because there's a lot that has just happened, and I'm not going to be going over my whole life. I'm just going to be going over the parts that got me here today. so, like I said, I always had these gifts, and normal people, you would call the normal society, the people living their lives, going to church, doing all these things, whatever they do, believe the way they believe. You really couldn't speak to those people about anything because they were already indoctrinated with that they were sinful and that you don't have gifts, everything's witchcraft, blah blah blah, and all this stuff. And I thought, as these people are saying these things, they are so hateful inside. It's probably a good thing they don't have gifts. you know and so I really kept a lot of things to myself, and I was never trying to use my gifts, or really I would use them in the sense of reading people's energy, and that's about it. you know because I believe invading people's personal space is not a good thing to do. And there's been a few times where I said things and I wasn't really reading the person's heart when I said it. And that's not good. So you learn, right? You learn. So you know my life had led me to a point when I was living in Colorado. I moved there in 2009. Or yeah, 2009. I was there until 2018. But anyhow, that's when a lot of stuff went down for me in that period of time because I was going through a lot. I had a husband that I loved that had a double life, and it was catching up to him, and it was catching up to our whole family. And so, of course, you're going to start making your own life. So I was. And losing him was really, really hard for me because I loved him very much. It was like, people say ride or die. I was his ride or die for a long time. But because of what he was doing on the side and what I was doing on the side, it was never going to last. And that's okay. I mean, I don't regret any of my time with any of my family or him. It all got me to here today to be able to give you these messages. But by the time we got to Colorado, I was like, whoa. You know, I had just been diagnosed with lupus, Sjogren's. I was literally just dying. And then all these things went down with him. And, I could see, no matter what, through all this time, I knew there was a different God. And I remember making a declaration when I got there saying, I don't even want to talk to you, God. You're not my God. No, my creator will find me because everything here is just too twisted for me. And the people who are claiming to know God, I could read them. They did not. They did not. And oh, did I want them to know who Creator was. I was looking for someone else who knew something different than what they were being told. So I pretty much told Creator, nope, nope, you're going to have to prove you are who you are to me, because I'm all done, because these gifts I have, they are used against me. And it's usually like the bad people, witches and demons and people like that. They knew where I got my gifts from. Nobody else did. And I intimidated the crap out of them. Because see, what I have is a connection. It's not from here. It's not interdimensional like what they have going on. So that's what scared them. And because I didn't have to do anything, I could just literally open my mouth and give them the answer. Or something would happen, or I could do something that no one had seen before ever be done. See, that's what happens when you're not trying to use your gifts and you allow Creator to use them through you. Creator can use them the correct way. Emily, at the time, I was still full of ego, and not ego in the sense that you would think, but I had enough ego in me that I knew my gifts were not to be used by me solely. Like, I had had so many things happen by then, for so many decades already by then, that I knew when weird things happened, I wasn't doing them. I was like, I did not do that. I know I did not, and so I was always going up against the darkness with my gifts. Always, always. My ex would have people come over that were doing bad stuff, and they'd ask me, are we going to get in trouble? And I could tell them verbatim what was going to happen. And if they would either not do it or do it. But when they did do it and go to jail, go to prison, they'd get out, they'd come back and say, you knew to the T what was going to happen. And so I did a lot of different things, but that's just a little bit of it. But, the dark people, they want to know the truth. Like, these dark people that I was dealing with, they knew I knew. They did not question me. They did not, there was no money being exchanged. There was nothing being exchanged. It was simply tell us what's going to happen. And I could. And I did that a lot throughout my life. It's as easy as to say what's going to happen to them as it is to say the words that I'm saying to you now. It's clear. It's I guess a kind of separation. You're separating yourself from the mind. Otherwise, the mind will interpret it and ego can get involved. So you really have to just allow the knowledge to come through. And I'm really good at that. I don't have a problem with doing that. I've been doing that my whole life. I had to. I was forced to, because of the things that I could do and the things that I saw and the knowledge that I had and the energy that I have. It affects people. Some of the worst I was around. And they couldn't be who they wanted to be around me. They had something good in them had to come out, or they just couldn't. They just couldn't, go up against what Creator was doing. So I allowed that. I've always allowed Creator to just work through me. And I wouldn't say it was God. I mean, people knew that I was close to this Creator, but they just couldn't quite figure it out, like, how is she doing this? Because I'm logical, I'm sensible, I'm rational, I'm intelligent. I'm not strung out on drugs. I don't drink alcohol. I don't do any of that. So how is this person doing this so clearly in such and I'm saying these were some of these situations were so traumatizing for most people, you wouldn't even think you could think. But I had that ability to think like that. And I always made sure that I kept that connection open, because it's the only thing that was keeping me safe in this world, Because a lot of people have all these abilities, they just don't know how to do it. They don't know how I'm doing it. And I'm telling you how I'm doing it. I have no expectation. I go into every situation with not a bad or good thought, you know. I just kind of neutral. And I always know that Creator has a plan. And it's not my plan, because my plan would be to do way different. You know, my plan would be to be way different. I could not do what Creator does through me, because I don't quite always understand why it happens when it happens. But you have to be open and willing to receive that information and willing to help others, no matter what they're doing to you or no matter what the situation is. You cannot have judgment. You cannot have ego. You cannot. It won't. It won't happen. It just won't. And I've tested it. So, you know, and that's what you do. You use discernment on everything that's happening. I always use discernment. That's why I told Creator, you will find me the day you want me to know you exist. But as far as this God here goes, I was like, nope. Don't think I'm praying to you either. Because I really, at that point, with everything that I was witnessing and going through and experiencing, when I got to Colorado, I was like, my gosh, you know, like, I can't trust anything. All I can trust is what's been happening and what I'm able to do. And when it happens, it happens. And I know that has to be God. But at the same time, I still use discernment on that. So, really, I wanted to just start this series off with a little bit of an introduction to get you going where we're going to go to next. There's a lot of twists and turns. There's a lot of events I'm going to speak on. There's a lot of things that happened. But I wanted to kind of give you an introduction on what I'm going to be talking about in my next videos. Okay, guys. Thank you. Thank you for hanging in there with me. If you like this video, please like it. Leave me a comment. Anything, just let me know you're still out there. All right. Much love. Have a good one. Bye.